Hello, everyone. Welcome to our second educational session with SIP. I'm Gretchen Jones, and we're here with Tim Fischvogt, and we're going to do a distillery quality check with Tim. Tim, welcome to the
Hello, thank
floor.
you for having me.
You're welcome. Okay, so I'm going to just give you a chance to introduce yourself and your background, and then we can go right into quality. Sound good?
All right,
Okay.
yep. Tim Fischvogt, previously at Southern Distilling for the past 4 or 5 years. I started from the ground as an operator to shift lead to Distillery Operations Supervisor. It was a pleasure working there. I'm very thankful for um, the Southern Distilling family, and now I'm working on trying to open up a brewery in Lexington, North Carolina. Hopefully, it'll be in March. We're shooting for. So I've been very busy at the moment. It's a good challenge, a lot of learning in construction. But yeah.
Nice. I love it, Tim. Thank you for joining today. How's the weather in North Carolina going? It's been a wild week.
Yeah, freezing. It's freezing. The roads, main roads are good, but the secondary roads not too good.
Yeah. No, that's wild that North Carolina, that's hard to handle out there. Indiana, 16 inches here. So
Mm,
it's been just as fun. So, all right. Are you ready to get into quality, Tim? Are
I'm
you
ready. We'll
for
start at the beginning.
Okay,
Um,
sounds good.
from grain, starting at the grain, saving grain, getting grain. Quality wise, you always want to make sure that you're getting good quality grain. Um, you could use a grain probe, pulling it out of a truck. You can use a device, mini GAC, or another handheld device to check your proteins. You can also do the old fashioned way if you don't have that. You could do a just visible. You'll weigh it out, get your sample, and then inspect it, check the FOD. You can even do the smell test, putting it in the microwave and then smelling it, see if it's musty. Um, but yeah, that's the big one. Is you want quality grain to make sure you have a quality product on the backside. Um, Usually, we'll get it. We'll have a COA. The bigger guys will have COAs. That's always nice to have. And then we'll have it in the bins. Usually, we'll fumigate bins once a year's all right to have it fumigated. Make sure there's no bugs inside. You don't want that.
Mm,
Milling, we'll pull a sample when we're milling to the cooker. Um, we'll put it in a container and then weigh it out. Usually about a pound is easiest, and we'll do a sieve test on it to make sure our grind's all right. Um, for each grain, literally each grain, we'll do that. Usually once a day, we'll do that.
So you're doing a sieve test like every production batch, is that right? Or are you doing it every?
Usually, if you got multiple cooks in a day, we'll just do one cook out of however many. Um, but yes, for each grain, and then you can even track that, logging that in to know what batch, what truck, or what superset, what shipment it came with for your
Mhm.
lot code. Um, that's typically how we'll do it.
Gotcha. Cool.
The once it goes in the mill, it's all based on temperatures. There's a lot. Make sure you're always recording your recipe. You can do old school, which is just pen and paper, or I like the new school way of using just a Google sheet, really, and then it's actually a Google form, I believe, and that will populate from. You'll have your SOP, and then from there, your operator will plug in each individually. Make sure every operator's reading the SOP. Everybody has consistency across the board. From there, I can look at mill times based on how fast we're running the mill, and we can correlate that to the mill size. If we need to slow up or feed it faster, depending on the mill size. Also, checking your rolls. We use roller mill, so that's usually what I'm comfortable with. We'll always do the mill the right distance, I guess you want to call it, roller size. We'll do that unless there's a clog. Then that's where it gets a little dicey. Then you'll have to restart just all the rollers. Then that's where we will take multiple samples to get it in spec where we need it to go.
Gotcha. Tim, you mentioned SOPs. Can you go into a little bit more about SOPs and the importance of those?
Yes.
I've heard that stories and how important
they can be boring. They can be boring, but they are much needed for definitely newer operators. Every piece of equipment is different, so it's just how the best practice basically is what we go by, and what our baseline is from historical data. To make sure everybody's putting in the same amount of water, same amount of grain, same enzyme, everything across the board, how you transfer, what temperatures to cook at, you name it, when to record data, when to pull a sample. Like cooking, we'll pull a sample at the end of it when we're about to transfer to know what our Brix and pH is. And then we have a mash cooler. So it's a tube and tube heat exchanger. So you don't have to cold crash it all the way down to your fermentation temp, your set point. You can just send it through that. And we'll also pull samples there to make sure we're extracting all the sugars we can out of there.
Gotcha. So SOPs are shared with everyone in
Yes.
operations, right? And
the red binder is what we call it. Everybody gets a red binder. And a lot of hours have been spent on
it. So when you're working as a team, it's encouraged, always reading those, always asking questions. Am I on the right? Okay. So that's like you're living in that red binder day in, day out.
Yeah, we don't really deviate from it, but I would allow the guys to kind of not be innovative, but if they thought there was a better way, I'm always open to finding a better way. Because they're doing it day in and day out. It changed while I was there quite a bit from growth.
Okay, so we talked about grain quality.
Yep.
Now, is there anything like that could possibly go wrong? God forbid. And then you would have to troubleshoot. Is there any like quality best practices you can think of? I don't want to put you on the spot, but
no. The biggest lesson is making sure you have a COA before it is in your hands, typically, or have it tested before you unload it, and all the time and effort, and you have to take it all out by hand. That's not fun to do. Super sacking, that's not fun to do.
No,
that's the biggest one, is before it's unloaded, know what you're getting and make sure it's quality.
Gotcha. Yeah, I love it. All right, so next quality check we're doing here.
From milling and cooking, you're going to go to like fermentation. So once it's in the fermenter, you got to make sure it's sanitized. Make sure usually once a week is good, depending on how much is going on. If you're just one cook, one distillation a day, or running multiple in a day, it's usually good to do it once a week of cleaning, running some type of not really caustic, PBW, sanitize all through your mash lines, your cooker, your mash cooler, all the mash lines to your fermenter. And then also once your fermenter is empty, starting with a nice clean fermenter, steaming, PBW, star sand, scrubbing it down. That's typically where you want to make sure it's clean before you start fermentation.
What could possibly go wrong? If
Ooh,
could you fix it? Like,
that's where pH and bricks come in. So you want to make sure you're doing pH and bricks at least daily, depending on the operation. Um, we would do usually 6 hours apart, twice a day, to make sure if you're running, depends on how fast you're running. So if you're running, 50 hours to 72 hours, you want to be on top of it. Or it will just, it's not going to end up, you're going to have a lot of wasted material and a lot of money. Literally, you're just going to have to run it and be done with it. Also, that affects the distillate on the back end, especially columns. So, like, if you didn't get what you wanted out of it, meaning the bricks, we don't have a good conversion. That's where taking the mash sample, we'll take a mash sample at the end, we'll track it all the way until it's time to go to the beer well to run through the columns. You got to play with your steam rate on your columns to make sure that there's not enough juice in there. So therefore, you got to increase it a little bit, and get it a lot hotter. And it's a good lesson to learn. Also, on the fermentation side, don't fill your fermenters. Have a little bit of headspace, because then you could have an infinity pool of mash on the ground. That's never fun. And that goes back to the cooking, where it's the beer gallon. Typically, beer gallon is just water to grain ratio. And depending on what you're making, a rye whiskey or a bourbon or American single malt, you're going to switch that based on the grain.
Gotcha. Interesting. Okay. So there's still time to troubleshoot if something goes wrong in the cleaning.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just a pain.
Yeah, it's just wasting money, really. You're just going to get what you get, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. All right. Next quality check, Tim.
So we talked a little bit about fermentation. You'll transfer it to the beer well. You'll get a beer well sample. And this all these samples typically is run on an HPLC. That's always nice to have, but some people, it's pretty expensive to have, but it's a nice feature. And you'll know your conversion, your percent of alcohol, all different types of stuff that some words you can't even say that are just so big. That will go to your still. So you're still on a column. You'll have your beer heater starting up. That's another SOP, starting up and shutting down your column. You want to make sure all the operators are very comfortable. It takes a while. It probably took me at least 6 months to get comfortable doing that, starting up and shutting down. I have unfortunately blown mash on the roof on the PRV because I was going too fast, but you live and you learn. Same with the flow rate. So each recipe is different. Quality check. You want to make sure that you're flushing it out. You don't have to run caustic all the time through it because that's going to eat away at your copper. But at least give it a good flush at the end of the day. Always at the end of the day, if you can, flush it out.
Yeah.
Just running water, steam, let it
Just let it
wash
go.
the machine for a while, fill it up, and then you can. It does work, but there are times where plates are blinding, and you got to get in there manually, and that's all right as long as you got the right equipment to do it. Then you're good. But it's just tedious to make sure all the carbon buildup, getting the carbon buildup off of the plates, flushing out your beer heater. Also, it might seem obvious, but different mash bills. If it's a rye mash bill and another rye mash bill, it's cool. But if you're switching between wheat mash bills and rye mash bills, make sure you dump the doubler, you clean out the doubler, start fresh, so you're not mixing those two. Same with rye whiskeys. You got to run that a lot slower. And then the condensers. You can run your condensers. We would always run a little bit hotter than usual for the flash points, for the quality. And then every 30 minutes, you would have, we'd take samples off the stills, make sure we're in spec, meaning the proof. So typically it would be 10 proof points. From difference between your low wines and your high wines. Of course, your low wines are going to be a lower proof than your high wines. So the operators, they'll take those every 30 minutes. Usually like hydrometer, Anton, whatever you have. Hydrometer is fine. That's what we used to do at the beginning. We'd record that data. Also with columns, it's most likely coming automated. So you'll have a bunch of CM30s controllers. So I would go in, pull the data, and then I can see, even from the cooker, I can see the temperature, each step, where we were, how fast it milled. I can pull all that data and then track it on the column as well. Plus, I can track it back to your Google form.
Mm-hmm.
See that to make sure everything's adding up, everything's all good. That's a big one. And then we would get a spent grain sample. Your spent grain sample is really making sure you're efficient on getting the alcohol out. Meaning your column base is always going to be pretty hot, like at least 217. To make sure we're not sending alcohol out the back end.
Gotcha. Yeah.
You want to make sure that you're getting everything you can out of that and being efficient.
Gotcha. So what are you exactly measuring for the spent grain?
Make sure typically no alcohol is left over in that mash.
Okay.
So that you got it. By the time it's come down all the way, you're making sure you got it all out.
Gotcha. Okay. Perfect. So really that consistency, it seems like there's a 3-parter in there. Like
they all go back to basically the milling and receiving the grain. They all work hand in hand together. You can't just have bad grain and think you're going to get a good product at the end, right?
Right. No, totally. So we all start with good grain.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Now, next quality check are we doing, Tim?
Let's see. Fermentation. We'll do a sensory. We'll taste it as well. I mean, we're not just drinking on the job. Usually you just taste it, spit it out. And then once that lot is complete, you'll switch it. If you know something's up with it, you can isolate it, meaning your lot. Whereas typically we would blend a bunch of lots together in one tank and blend it together and using RO water to proof it down.
Mm-hmm.
That's one, and then you can flag it in the systems. Hey, something's up with this lot from the data, and you can probably see in the yield that something's off. We can isolate that and know, hey, it might be a good ending product. The barrel might help it.
Yeah.
But blending multiple lots, distillate, runs, whatever you want to call it, together and then proofing it down. We'll go at 110 proof. And that's it's more molecules helping the alcohol and water. Some people go out, 125. It's all really what you want out of it. Same with the fermentation process. You can have your set point way lower and it might take a little bit longer, but it's really the esters, stuff like that, what you actually intend to get on your finished product. Same with the barrel qualities, the toasting, the char, all different types of levels like that. You can play with that. I mean, it takes a lot of R&D, multiple years to know what you really like,
Hmm.
and what your profile wants to be. But that's typically what we would do.
Yeah. When you're talking sensory, like, are you having like certain employees taste?
Yep,
Um,
operators
yeah.
operators would taste it, um,
And
and
is
we'd
it
have
like,
a sample library as well from previous what
gosh,
we've done in the past, and to compare it to that, say, hey, we're there, we're good to go,
mhm,
stuff like that.
gotcha. Okay. And then is it the same people every time? Like just to make sure?
Yeah, I would go out there, taste it. Maybe the lab people will come out, taste it. Um, but yes, typically same people every time.
Is there like something that they could like pinpoint that's wrong, like right away, like to a point where it's that good?
Um, Really, you'll get a harsh taste. Like it's an off flavor. You know when something's off. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. You do it
Yeah,
so long, it's like it's just back of the napkin. You know something's off.
totally. Okay. No, I was just curious about that.
What else you got?
What else you got?
Oh boy.
I'm good on questions. I'll ask more at the end.
All right. Let's see. Talked about barreling. Um, PMs. We can always do PMs. It never hurts to do a PM. Always grease everything, make sure all the oil level, even to your steam traps, your cooling lines, making sure those aren't leaking, um, stuff like that. That's always good, and it's good to get ahead of things so you don't have days where you're down. That's never fun to be around and you're down and you don't know really what to do. Um, but yeah, that's another big one. Have routine. You could have weekly ones, monthly ones, stuff like that. There's
Yeah.
always that um, written up and a checklist for you.
Yeah. So when you're doing PMs, it's like mainly the equipment, right? And you have your different touch points. And then
Yes.
doing that, you said weekly or monthly. And that's really like best practices, right?
Yep. I mean, the big one's always boiler inspection. Open up boiler. Make sure
Mhm.
the tubes are all good. Make sure the water chemistry is good on your boiler, which typically you'll have a company do that for you. Um, Even down to check in clamps and gaskets. That's another. Always have spare clamps and gaskets around.
Gotcha. And that really like feeds into quality as a whole, right?
Yeah.
Like so your equipment's functioning properly, everything's running smoothly. You have your SOPs, like you have the best grain ever, and that's really like your distillery's running smoothly.
Yep.
Or am I wrong?
No, that's good. That's what you want.
Yeah, that's like your ideal perfect distillery.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it doesn't always happen that way. It's not always that smooth. There's been rough days where you
Yeah,
don't know when you're going home, but yeah.
totally. I mean, how do you when you're operating a distillery, how do you manage your time with your employees to do those PMs? Like, what's your best practice with that even?
Um,
Like dedicating a couple hours here, a couple hours there.
yeah, usually we would just have one. You can like doing PMs. You'll have some equipment. Not everything's running at once, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
you can time it out, and you just communicate either with maintenance or
Mhm.
if it's just yourself. I mean, never leave anything equipment running with nobody watching. Really, you don't want that.
Right.
But yeah, you'll have planned shutdowns. Planned shutdowns. That's where all your big stuff you want to do. That's when you capitalize. When you have a bunch of contractors in, you want to make sure if it's a week, if it's one day, 2 days, you want to try and line everything up so
Mhm.
that everybody knows you're not running. Even the tasting room. As long as you don't have tours, you don't want tours walking through while, you got work going on, stuff like that. And we'll have a game plan ahead of time to know what we're going to be focused on that day.
Totally. No, that sounds like a lot to manage. But it seems like once you're in the thick of it, like you know how to run this.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get in a routine like anything else.
Yep.
Gotcha. Well, Tim, do you have any other quality checks that we should be doing in our distilleries? Any advice you could give?
Let's see. I've talked about almost every aspect.
Yeah. I feel like consistency is totally where it's at, always.
Yeah, the SOPs they can be boring, but they're very important. It all kind of goes back to that is your SOPs and your training. Just making sure your training's up to speed. Everybody's up to speed, and we can all be clicking on the same page.
Yeah, yeah. And you have experience with writing those SOPs too?
Yes.
How
Yep.
did you learn? What was your training in writing the SOPs? Just Tim's training?
Yeah. Yep, basically. That's what happened. Had some guidance, but yeah, most of the time, what I would do normally is what we would do, what I would write up. Pictures. I mean, some people, like me personally, you give me that, I'm like, dude, I'm not looking at that. I'd rather just be hands on. But it is nice if you got pictures and arrows and stuff like that going all over the place. Then I'll look at it. But you give me a whole page of reading the book, nope.
No. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I feel like I'm a visual person too, and I need to be there to learn. Yeah. Cool. Is there anything I haven't asked you that I should have to bring out this quality check? So, like all distillers out there watching this right now, is there any advice or learning that they need? Training, I mean.
Let's see. The safety, that's a big one. Nobody really talks about it, but safety, making sure all the employees are safe, lockout, tag out, making sure steam wheels are closed while they're operating, knowing what is going on in the building where, you're filling the cooker with water. Hey, you're not going to have water on the stills in case of emergency. You need to communicate that. We would have walkie talkies throughout the building. Same with flushing the toilet in the tasting room. It's just difficult pulling all that water. And communication, that's a big one. That's another one for the grain vendors. Grain vendors, that was one of my big things, communication. And the reliability on making sure it was on time, that plays a big role for me.
Yeah, because if it wasn't on time, you'd have to
shut down. That's never good. You don't want to shut down.
Totally. No. I get it. Okay. Any other tips or tricks before we kind of close out here, Tim? I appreciate your time today. Make sure you utilize all your knowledge.
Yeah. I probably have other things to think about. I can think about more, but I don't want to go too much into a rabbit hole. We'll keep it broad. I think that's a good generic, but if you have questions, feel free to email me.
Yeah. How can we reach out to you, Tim, if we have further questions?
Tim@floatinggoatbrewing.com. And I'm happy to help pick my brain if you want. If not, that's fine too. But yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you, Tim. I'm so glad you joined today. I appreciate all your support. And I guess we can close out. Any questions you have, please feel free to reach out to me too, and I can get you to Tim. But yeah, thanks for all who joined in today. Be sure to join SIP. SIP is here to help you with all your educational needs. I'm Gretchen Jones, and I hope you all have a nice day. Thanks, Tim.
You're welcome. Thank you.